Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and I'm a historian. And every week, I like to go over some stuff that interests me. And the biggest thing that interests me is military and naval strategy. And I'm not talking like tactics at the company level. I'm thinking more high level, just right under, between operational planning below it and foreign policy that's determined by politicians above it. So, yeah, strategy basically at the high level. And so, with that, over the between now and the end of the year, we're going to go over the history and development of current strategic thought, starting at ancient times, where it's really much more simple and a lot more tactics were developed and alongside with the strategy, and then we'll get into the modern day, and we'll even have a couple of weeks where we look at naval development and maritime strategy, as well as some week where we discuss the development of air and nuclear strategy. So with that, I'd like to preface this by saying that I am, thanks to years of study, a naval historian. Yet, ironically, I'm one who is more interested in the planning and logistics that occur prior to a war and battle than the accounts of those battles themselves. This isn't to say that battle accounts do not have a role to play in the history or in the study of military history. It's just that the retelling of battlefield narratives is only one aspect of my chosen field. And instead, reading about the planning that takes place prior to the conflict gives me a greater insight into what eventual battle commanders were thinking in their pre-war planning and how they were expecting the next war to go. Uh, that's why, if you saw my last series, I'm so fascinated by naval planning that occurred during the World War One, and focusing my efforts on the pledging and replicating American time. Now, you can't, one cannot begin to study and truly understand how war planning works without an understanding of military strategy and the evolution of military thought. Indeed, as part of my master's course work, I took a class which covered the history of military thought, beginning in the Bronze Age and ending with the most recent American wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Therefore, between now and Christmas, this channel will be covering that evolution of military strategy. My goal is that by the end of this series, you have an overview of the development of military strategy from ancient times through to the present, and that you will have a basic understanding of the key concepts, and to introduce you to a few key military thinkers. This series is not going to be covering the efficacy, legality, or even morality of warfare, nor will discuss why nations choose to go to war, and yes, they are necessary topics to discuss. However, I will not be addressing them at this time. This week it's going to be the shortest one, just kind of giving you an idea of what's going to happen with the history side of my channel between now and the end of the year. And also, I want to show you a few what I think the key title uh, and manuscripts that you need to review are out of thousands of treatises that have been written on military strategy. I will say I did check, and pretty much all these titles are available at bookshop.org or your local bookstore. And all but one of these is still studied and taught. Well, actually, I should say two now, because there's two recent volumes which I do think need to be added to the key treatises that are military leaders across the world. And there's also a couple I don't actually have books for, but with me, but I do want to make sure you're aware of their existence, as I also believe that they will be beneficial to anyone who opts to review books on military strategy. First of all, get a good overview and really helped me out a lot and went through this entire book is the World History of Warfare. It's bring light in case you see it. It's written by our Christian Archer, John Ferris, Holger Herwig, and Timothy Travers from the University of Nebraska Press. it's still being used in classes. Uh, Today, I even had to read that whole thing to when I was working on my master's. And as alongside uh, makers of modern strategy, it's sorry about the glare. Makers of modern strategy from Machiavelli to the nuclear age, in this 1980s uh, edition was edited by Peter Parrott and is published by Princeton. Now, I will say I do have a copy of the most updated version with the new makers of modern strategy and from the ancient world to the digital age. This one's edited by Hal Brands, and again, it's available through Princeton. I have not yet read it yet, but I do expect this to be taking the place of the previous makers of military, makers of modern strategy, as this is the most updated version with the most recent historiography that's attributed to it. Another great overview, and this is also a newer one, is Military Strategy, a Global History by Jeremy Black, and it's available from Yale Press. It's a newer one. What I like about Jeremy Black, he's got a very good way of introducing military concepts and tactics and strategy and uh, providing great historical examples of. Now, for some more classic treatises that aren't overviews like those previous four, you gotta have your copy of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. This one that I have is one of four translations I have. This one's by Thomas Cleary. It's available from Shambhala. Really, with The Art of War, but I would get. I definitely recommend getting at least one or two copies because uh, I have four. I've read all four, and that's all. Actually, I've read five different translations of Sun Tzu, and the reason why I say that is each translator, well, they do, while they try not to influence how it comes out. There are subtle differences that can completely change the meaning of a phrase or an entire book just by little subtle change. So that's why you want to, especially with translated work, you want to get one that is very, especially older manuscripts like from the BCE. You want to get multiple translations just to make sure that you have it all. Now, it's less of an issue when you're talking about more modern stuff, especially, say, translating French or German into English, as English kind of bastard both. And next two are actually written as a result of the Napoleonic era. The first one always is the classic Clausewitz on War. I have the version that's edited and translated by Michael Howard and Peter Parrott. It's available from Princeton. What I like about this version I have is it is very thoroughly indexed and has all Clausewitz books in one volume. And the translation is actually very, very, very good. It's very little errors from German and English. Next, you want to grab The Art of War by Baron D. Jomini. Jomini's work, as I will explain later in the series, is really the basis and foundation of the development of American strategy. As I'll explain, the United States actually, through military academy, particularly Dennis Hart Mahan, the first volumes and stuff he got when he started teaching military strategy at West Point was all based on Jomini's work, and you can definitely see that in the tactics used in American Civil War. A more modern one that I enjoy, and this is written by a World War One veteran who by the time World War II broke out, pretty much commented on everything, is Strategy by Basil Hart, or B.H. Littlehart. Littlehart's work, it sounds nothing, but it's actually really easy to read. It gets you up through the Second World War, and I thoroughly enjoy this one. It's a good read, and kind of shows where military history has come. Um, um, I do have the book, but I forgot to grab it for this video. I also recommend reading Che Guevara's book, Guerrilla Warfare, also available from University of Nebraska Press. Uh, there's also, for those who want to read about strategic air power, the most influential one on that one would be Julio Duhet's The Command of the Air, and that is available on numerous different platforms. Now, of course, as you all know, I am a naval historian by trade, and of course, the most important book, and really the book that probably caused more wars than necessary, is Arthur Thayer Mahan's The Influence of Sea Power Upon History, 1660 to 1783. Especially the first chapter. That's where most of the meat and potatoes of the strategic thought is on that. But the rest of it is actually a really good history of the British Royal Navy between 1660 and 1703. Now, around the same time, and in cahoots with Jackie Fisher, you have some principles of maritime strategy. Yes, I know my copy says just principles of maritime strategy, but it's essentially the same book. And that is also a must read for anyone who wants to have a better understanding of the actual tactics and strategies involved, and not just the reason for that. Like I said, this week's a bit of a shorter one. I hope you liked it. Please share this with someone who you think will find it interesting. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you leave a comment, please be kind and respectful to everyone. And I will see you guys next week when we will get into the meat and potatoes of this series. Bye bye.